वेलकम टू लेट्स एक्सप्लोर इग्नू। एमए एजुकेशन के यहाँ पर सॉल्व असाइनमेंट आपको प्रोवाइड कर रही हूँ मैं। MES041 ग्रोथ एंड डेवलपमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशनल मैनेजमेंट का असाइनमेंट शेयर करने वाली हूँ। एमए एजुकेशन सेकेंड ईयर का जो कोर्स कोड है आपका MES041, उसका सॉल्व असाइनमेंट यहाँ पर आपको देखने को मिल जाएगा। जो क्वेश्चन है आप डाउनलोड कर सकते हो इग्नू की ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट से। यहाँ पर सोल्यूशन मैं आपको दे रही हूँ और मैं रिटर्न मटेरियल भी प्रोवाइड कर रही हूँ और साथ साथ रीड भी कर रही हूँ ताकि आपको लिखने में ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम ना आए। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन जो हमारा है, डिस्कस द इश्यूज कन्फ्रंटिंग स्कूल एजुकेशन इन इंडिया। सेकंड क्वेश्चन इज कंपेयर द एजुकेशनल मैनेजमेंट ड्यूरिंग प्री एंड पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिया। Third question is explain with examples how ICT can be used for effective and efficient educational management. So let's start with question number 1. Discuss the issues confronting school education in India. In India, school education is compartmentalized into 4 stages and it covers 12 years of schooling: primary, upper primary or middle, secondary and higher secondary. School education up to secondary education is called as common school education. There are many issues for concern at various levels of school education which are discussed here. The main issues concerning preschool education systems are linking preschool system to primary and elementary school system, teacher training programs for preschool teachers and other functionaries, recognition of teachers training programs, linkage between early childhood care stage to early childhood education, training of Anganwadi workers, preschool teachers and functionaries and early childhood care functionaries, formalization of preschool education system. Issues confronting primary schooling in India are as follows. Primary school in formal sector is mostly run by government and mainly in the rural and backward areas. At the primary stage, one teacher is in charge of one class and teaches all subjects. Many times a teacher with no mastery of mathematics and English at senior secondary stage has to teach those subjects to the situation is common in primary school located in far-flung and rural pockets. In upper primary stage, the provision of subject-wise teachers is existing, but availability of teachers in the school located in difficult and disturbed areas is a question. A teacher having no science background teaches science and mathematics. Provision of subject-wise recruitment of teachers exists. The NPE and POA have expressed some important concerns that still confront elementary education. In order to make it compulsory, they are as follows. The emphasis needs to significantly shift from mere enrollment and retention. Retention has to be achieved through appropriately decentralized participate planning with community involvement. Infrastructure support provision in terms of improved school environment, satisfactory condition of school buildings and provision of appropriate teaching learning materials are major imperative. Qualitative improvement in elementary education through child-centered activity-based teaching learning process is required. Restructuring of pre-service and in-service teachers education is also an imperative condition. Addressing the local issues of equity of access and quality is a permanent concern. Need of providing quality education to the hard to reach marginalized and disadvantaged group of children through appropriately flexible strategies. The major issues with respect to elementary education in formal sector are access. Improving access and enabling all children to complete elementary education of good quality is central goal of the Indian education policy. Availability of schooling facility is one of the indicators of enhanced access. In SSA, the major obstacle found were infrastructure upgradation, repair and upgradation of existing schools. Funds which have been provided in this scheme. Equality. This issue is important as still large numbers of children are not enrolled in primary school. The major problem is of the glaring disparities in the access and participation of certain sections of population and specific geographical pockets. They are still fail to fully benefit from the various intervention in elementary education. There is tremendous need in the present context to rectify historical equities through their equitous addressal in the policy framework on education. Quality. The quality of elementary education is linked to its relevance to the learner. There are certain directional indicators that characterize quality elementary education. They are improvement in provision of infrastructure and human resources for elementary education, provision of improved curriculum and teaching learning materials, improved quality of teaching learning process through introduction of child-centered methodology, attention to teachers development, increased focus on specification and means of learners achievement patterns. Issues concerned in secondary education: access. Providing secondary schooling to all elementary school pass out is not possible in the existing formal education infrastructure in the country. The number of secondary education aspirants will be increasing, mainly fools due to the commitment of the country for providing equal educational opportunities. Presently, the policy of opening of school refers to one secondary school for every 3 upper primary schools. This is creating a need for more schools as a result of expansion of upper primary education in the years to come. Quality of secondary education in the present context as accepted is directly dependent on the performance at the board examination. Relevance. The issue would be need to be addressed in the terms of variety of subjects and the combination which are offered as a part of school curriculum for 10 years schooling and +2 stage. Diversification. It could be seen as the need for flexibility in selection of course from a wide variety of courses, considering the employment, vocational and academic orientation. Modernization. It needs to be seen in Indian context. The steps taken in modernization must consider in Indian youth emerging market demands skill needed for employability on one hand and inculcation of independence, self-realization, decision making skills, etc. Besides the major 5 issues in secondary education, some of the common situation specific issues are accessibility of secondary education within recommended distance of 5 kilometers walking distance, actual position in rural and urban situation, availability of minimum number of students and private managements with adequate resources in various pockets, availability of trained teachers, accessibility of vocational courses in secondary and senior secondary schools, in urban slum and rural areas, availability of female teachers and female escorts in rural areas. So let's start with second question. Compare the educational management during pre and post independent India. States in India has always shown its concern for education. In ancient times, education was provided through rishikuls, gurukuls, pathshalas. Providing educational facility was considered to be one of the most important and sacred duties of the king. During the first period of British regime from early days to 1812, the policy of indifference was observed. The Britishers came as traders and, like all commercial establishments, their sole aim was economic gain by trade. Education therefore was first ignored. The history of educational management during colonial India can be divided into 3 periods. The first period 1813 to 1853, introduction of centralization. Second period is from 1854 to 1919, the period of state control and extreme centralization. Third period 1920 to 1947, provisional autonomy. The first period 1813 to 1853, introduction of centralization. This period saw 2 major landmarks in the history of educational management: the Charter of 1813 and Macaulay's Minute of 1835. During this period, the financial control over education was centralized in imperial government. To state governments had to execute their educational programs under the system. The second period 1854 to 1919, period of state control and extreme centralization. During this period, Government of India became keenly alive to the need for an all India policy on education. Wood's dispatch of 1854 is considered to be one of the most important milestones in the development of education system in country in this direction. However, in 1882, the Government of India appointed a commission known as Indian Education Commission to inquire into the manner in which effect had been given to the principles of dispatch of 1854 and to suggest such measures as it may think desirable in order to further carry out the policy therein laid down. Greater concern of state downward higher education led towards the expansion of higher education. The increase in the number of the college lead to problem which necessitated the appointment of University Commission in 19 MES041. In course of discussion on the Indian budget, the Under Secretary of State for India admitted the need for paying more attention to Indian education. As a result of Court of Direction of East India Company passed the resolution on educational policy in 1813. The British Parliament agreed to this effect when the Charter Act was revised the same year. Realizing the importance of mass education, Government Resolution on Education Policy 1930 recommended for sufficient expansion of lower primary schools as well as upper primary schools. The outbreak of the First World War delayed the development planned in the resolution, and many important items were postponed owing the financial stringency. However, in 1970, the Government of India appointed the Calcutta University Commission. Although it deals with Calcutta University only, the report has greatly influenced the subsequent course of secondary and higher secondary in the country. Third period, 1920 to 1947, provincial autonomy. With the Government of India Act 1990, DISAC or the rule of two was introduced in provincial administration. The administration of province was divided into two halves, the reverse departments and the transfer departments. Education with small expectation became provisional subject. In May 1928, the Simon Commission appointed an auxiliary committee, popularly known as the Hartog Committee, to review the position of education in country during 1920s. It was decided to stop all further recruitment to the Indian Education Service so that service would fade out within a few years. The Government of India Act 1913 was passed, but as the basic condition with the transfer of education to popular control in the provinces side by side with the Government of India counting to be responsible to Parliament remaining unchanged. In pursuance of the resolution of 1935 of the Central Advisory Board of Education, two expert advisories Mars Abbott and Wood submitted a report in 1937 suggested a complete hierarchy of vocational institutes parallel with the hierarchy of institutes imparting general education. The British India is criticized for not having developed a truly national system of education, failing to evolve a synthesis of Eastern and Western cultures, inadequate aims, that is, they sought to educate an army of civil servants but not with the aim of eventual self-government, adopting wrong methods of administration, neglecting indigenous education, absence of any holistic plan to reach predetermined goals, allegedly neglecting vernacular education and shaping education policy to serve their own political and economic ends. Development of education management in post-independence era. Prior to 1947, the role of education administrators in India was simply to carry out the restricted educational program developed by British. Following independence, we have developed a variety expanded educational programs with greatly changed objectives. Under the British, the school administrator worked largely with higher officials, but now she works with all kinds of stakeholders, teachers, pupils, parents, and community. As follow of the recommendations of the Sargent Plan, now endorsed and supported by the independent India, a separate Ministry of Education came being in 1947. Education, with the few exceptions, continued as state subject. However, with the setting up of Planning Commission of Central Government began to take keen interest in education. In view of important role of education in human resource development, the nomenclature of Ministry of Education changed to Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, 1985. University Education Commission 1948-49. The commission was appointed by the Government of India in 1948 under the chairperson of Dr. Radhakrishnan in pursuance of recommendation of CAPE and also of the Inter-University Board. The commission made important suggestions for improving the standard of university education in the country. The commission felt that all universities should be constituted as autonomous bodies. The Secondary Education Commission 1952. The commission was concerned with qualitative improvement of schools, new trends in examination guidance and extracurricular work were brought into the school programs. Multi-purpose secondary school was new concept recommended by the commission. The commission's recommendations were integrated to the successive 5-year plans, began to be implemented, but both at the center and in the states in 1954. The Indian Education Commission 1964 to 66. The Commission realized that the existing facilities and arrangement for the training of educational administrators are inadequate. Pre-service education for administrators is neither necessary nor possible. Training for an educational administrator is needed not only because the tasks she is required to perform are difficult and complex, but mainly because it is necessary to orient him her to the program of educational expansion and improvement which has to be implemented. The Commission observed that in a vast country like India, it is necessary that the constitution of a university should be formulated in sufficiently general terms so as to permit innovation and experimentation. National Policy on Education 1968. It advocated for having a broadly uniform educational structure in all parts of the country. The ultimate objective should be to adopt the 10 plus 2 plus 3 pattern, the higher secondary stage of 2 years being located in schools, colleges, or both according to local conditions. It also advocated to increase gradually the investment in education so as to reach a level of expenditure of 6% of national income as early as possible. National Policy on Education 1986 and revised 1992 and Program of Action. The National Policy on Education 1986 recommended for an overall of the system of planning and the management of education. In pre-independence period, educational management was divided by 3 periods. Subsequently, in the parts independence period, some important committees and commissions have been set up for the development of educational management in the country. Among them, University Education Commission, Secondary Education Commission, Education Commission 64-66, NEP 1968, 1986 as revised in 1992 and POA 1986 has played vital role for rendering and developing the educational management as well as education policies. Question 3, last question. Explain with examples how ICT can be used for effective and efficient educational management. Educational management has progressed from being a new field dependent upon ideals developed in other settings to become an established field with its own theories and research. There is no single all-embracing theory of educational management. In part, this reflects the astonishing diversity of educational institutes, ranging from small rural elementary schools to very large colleges and universities. It relates also to the varied nature of the problems encountered. In schools and colleges which require different approaches and solutions, it reflects the multifaceted nature of theory in education and social sciences. The use of ICT has provided us innovative and system-friendly solution for educational management and for imparting learner-friendly education as per our need and convenience. It is found that the use of ICT increase efficiency within and beyond educational institution. Therefore, ITC is renowned as one of the essential elements in all schools, colleges, and universities. Its application in teaching, learning, and educational administration is further going to increase over time. The underlying idea of using ICT for educational management is that it can help achieve objectives that are considered important cornerstones of education in the information society and play a facilitating role in the managing increased flow of information associated with more autonomous learning environment. In particular, the ICT based educational system can not only help the administrator to manage the whole system more effectively and efficiently, but also help the students to achieve competitiveness in the new global economy and support lifelong flexible learning. As mentioned earlier, ICT is of paramount importance for our educational institutes. Today, ICT is developing into one of the main effective instruments which influence educational institutes and the way education is employed. Due to the several technological options available, organizational, pedagogical, as well as managerial changes are to be expected. Never before was the ICT so directly involved in educational management. There are several advantages of using ICT. First, it increases efficiency at workplace, whether it is management of student records, conducting online admission and examination, or preparation of results. Computer can work at higher speed than human beings. Second, ICT results in higher accuracy as the chance of errors are much less. For example, if you entered a formula for calculation of fees paid by a student into the computer and instructed it to repeat the formula for 1000 students, the computer can do it in a matter of seconds without error. Third, many complex operations which cannot be done by human beings can be easily performed by computer. Fourth, ICT can help in communication quite effectively. It takes only a few seconds to send large files database to far off places. It is possible to get feedback comments from people at distant place with the help of ICT. Fifth, ICT can bring a greater transparency into education and administration. Admission of students can prescribe criteria, grading and ranking of students without flaws, and display of students' performance in an open and transparent manner is possible with the help of ICT. These features bring greater credibility to our educational institutes. Information and communication technology can be instrumental in enhancing educational management in several ways, such as ICT tools can streamline data collecting, storage, and analysis, enabling administrators to make informed decisions based on accurate information about students, teachers, resources, and performance. ICT facilitates efficient communication between administrators, teachers, students, and parents through platforms like emails, messaging apps, and online portals. Fostering collaboration and transparency with ICT, educational institutes can be better managed. Resources such as classroom equipment and personal optimizing utilization and ensuring equitable distribution. ICT can automate routine administrative tasks like attendance tracking, scheduling, grading, and reporting, freeing up time for educators and administrators to force on more strategic activities, especially relevant in times of crisis like COVID-19 pandemic. ICT enables remote learning through online platforms, video conferencing, and digital resources, ensuring continuity of education even when physical attendance is not possible. ICT offers a venue for continuous professional development for educators through online courses, webinars, and virtual conferences, keeping them updated with the latest teaching methods and technologies. ICT tools can track and monitor student progress and performance, allowing educators to provide timely intervention and personalized support to struggling students. ICT platforms can facilitate parental engagement by providing access to student information, progress report, and communication with teachers, fostering a collaborative approach to education. By leveraging ICT effectively, educational institutions can enhance efficiency, improve outcomes, and create a more dynamic and responsive learning environment.
क्वेश्चंस के आंसर्स यहाँ पर प्रोवाइड करा दिए गए हैं, तो आप सॉल्यूशन नोट डाउन करके अपने असाइनमेंट सबमिट कर सकते हो. थैंक यू. सब्सक्राइब फॉर मोर वीडियोज़.